Hey Marcus, how are you? Am I audible?
Hello, Prakash. Yeah, I can hear you. Great. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for attending.
Sure.
Let me see who else is going to attend. That's always a tricky part.
Uh-huh.
I'm really hoping that Bruno attends. Um, because I was hoping that we can discuss a PR that he's working on. Let's see. Um, yeah, so let me share my screen anyway. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I see it.
Is it the doc?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so given that this is being recorded just for formality, this is the private data object community meeting. All contributions are open source, so please make sure that you do not disclose any confidential information. Yeah, so contributions are welcome from everybody without any distinctions. Thank you for that. Okay, so question is, so let me pull up the outstanding issues and repos. So so we discuss two repos in this calls. Usually the so the private data objects is the main one. If two outstanding pull requests, one was opened by Mick. It's assigned to me. I don't even know what that is. Okay, let's not even bother about it. I think this is the other one. I think Bruno was essentially updating the attestation verification policies that we currently have in the PDO ledger. I guess mainly got to do with how we handle attestation when we run SGX enclaves in debug mode. Because when we run into debug mode, there isn't really any strong security that we can offer, right? So even though we would check attestation, it's just more from a prototyping perspective rather than from a security guaranteeing perspective, right? So I guess this was internally discussed, and my understanding is that this PR is primarily focused on that. Would be good to get details from him when if he is there. Okay, let me, before I proceed any further, is there anything specific you would like to discuss, talk, Marcus?
Not really. I mean, I was wondering if I had created this PR on the contracts,
That was for updating
the dependencies.
oh, that was merged, right?
Sorry?
That
Yeah,
was
y-
merged, right? That was merged.
yeah, that's merged. I just wanted to, I mean, basically, double check if that actually works. But I mean, it seems to work. There are
Yeah.
a few bumps, one, two, which
Yeah,
got merged.
there was a bump. There was a bump. Although, yeah, although I don't know if this is the right way to do it, in the sense that, I mean, ideally, let's say that if I'm a user of the contracts repo, right, I would like a fairly static version of the base PDO. So is it possible to do the bump like only if there are not for every commit of the PDO repo, but for every tagged version of the PDO repo? So can you have such policies for the bump?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was also wondering if that's the case. I played mainly with this feature in terms of Go dependencies, and yeah, for Go dependencies, you can specify, hey, only on a proper version bump. And whereas here for the Git repository, I mean, this Git submodule there, it basically bumps for every commit.
Yes.
So, but I mean, on the other hand, I mean, if someone wants to, I mean, play with a stable version of the code, they basically should check out a particular version of the contracts repository, right? And
Yeah.
don't always fetch latest for main, maybe. Well, I think I understand your concern, but I
That's
don't
true.
really think
Yeah, I
if
mean there
there
are,
is a
I'm not saying that this is the problem, because there are so many other problems, in the sense that it's not even obvious to me that including PDO as a submodule is the right thing to do here. Especially because from a deployment perspective, what we really assume is that the PDO services are already up and running, so you might as well. And there's another thing, that now you're forcing every example in this repo to use the same PDO base branch, right, or base commit, which from the perspective of a community contribution, let's say you contribute an example, now I'm forcing you to update your contribution whenever I change my PDO base for compatibility, right? We are not ensuring that that PDO commits are backward compatible in any way, right?
Well, but the question is, do you need to care about backwards compatibility at this stage of the project?
No, we don't.
Yeah,
That's all fine.
right.
We don't need it to be, but I would still like to see your example working in whatever my most recent my most stable version of the contracts repo is, right? So ideally, it would be good if each contract example can work with a certain version of PDO, and that's it, right? And if anybody wants to upgrade it, fine, that's their choice, right? But we should not be forcing them to upgrade just because I want to use one submodule for every contract.
Right, but so then, I mean, how I would approach this is then that once you're happy with a certain version of PDO, you tag it, and then you also basically tag at the same time the same version ID you tag the smart contract repository.
Yeah, there
And
has to be better. Yeah, I understand what
exactly,
you're saying.
and then basically you have the link.
Yeah,
And you're
there's,
always and then I would also not go in the direction where you have individual version numbers for the contracts and
yeah.
the PDO. I mean, maybe it would make sense, but it also makes makes it much harder.
Yeah, no, I get
Right?
what you're saying. Yeah, there should be better binding between the two repos, is your base point, right?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you're just concerned about the main branch, I think this is a nice way because you basically already you're all the time are in sync with this with the current approach.
Yeah, I mean, for now, this is perfectly fine, right? Because the number of contributors are pretty minimal, and we're making sure that everything is up to date all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, these are only issues when the project, if and when the project becomes big, right? for now, this is perfectly fine. That's
Right.
yeah. It's not an issue to worry about anyway. Yeah. So, okay. So I think Bruno is here. Thank you, Bruno, for joining. So, Bruno, we were just wondering if you would like to walk us through your pending PR, explain it, and I know that you've listed me as a reviewer, and yeah, it's status now.
Yes. No, you are there as a reviewer.
Yes, I am, but I haven't reviewed it yet. I know. So
Oh, okay.
if you could help both Marcus and me understand the PR, that'd be fantastic.
Yes. So this is basically to add some other checks in the attestation verification report, and it's something. I'm not sure if it's something that we have in FPC as well, but definitely something we discussed with Michael at the time. Okay, so there are multiple things here.
So just before you say, if you want to take control of the screen so that you can walk, or if you want to pop up your screen, that's fine too.
Yeah, it's better if I share, maybe.
Yes, please do that. So do I have to unshare first before you can do that?
I don't know.
How do I even stop share? Okay, I stop share. Okay.
Which one is this? This is screen 2. Can you see the PR?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so there are multiple things here, and the commits are well organized, actually. So initially we had the SGX debug flag always set to 1. So basically the enclave was always started with the debug mode on, and that was necessary and fine until a few years ago, because you need a lot more things, and maybe USB key to start the enclave in SGX release mode. Right now, this is not necessary. So what I did was to make the SGX debug flag dependent on PDO debug build, which is the environment variable that we have to specify whether you want debug on or not. In this, so for the now with this commit, we will have 3 modes of operations, essentially. So we have the sim mode with PDO debug build on, which will build PDO in simulation mode plus debug build. The simulation mode with debug build off not supported. It will raise a.
Why is that? Why should PDO debug be on if I want to run it in sim mode?
Simply because it's sim mode.
Yeah, it is sim mode. It is sim mode. So what is it? It is like enclave sim mode, because the way I understood PDO debug was it just is going to throw out a whole bunch of logs, which I don't want to see even if I'm in sim mode.
Well, now it's forced in sim mode. So sim mode is supposed to be a debug mode, essentially.
Okay, so does it mean that if it is period debug build mode, the log setting is always the debug, and I cannot set it to one explicitly because it's going to give me all kind of logs and
So I am not sure if the debug log is set to debug using PDO debug build. It may be separate in that case, and I'm saying that because
I see.
because
Then
if you look
then I'm
at
a
the
bit confused. So what is period debug build even doing?
I think it enables or disables the log itself, but even when it's enabled, you have to specify the debug level if you want really the entire log.
Wow.
So basically, this PDO log level does not depend on PDO debug build. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is just to compile the print of the print function for the logs, but then you have to specify the debug level that you want. So this the fact that it's PDO log level debug may not be dependent on PDO debug build.
Okay, I don't. Yeah. Okay, thanks for explaining that. Yeah, yeah.
And the other two modes of operations are, well, SGX hardware mode with PDO debug build or not. In that case, the variable will use the CMake build type, release or debug, to instruct CMake to compile the enclave for debug or not. And we use this simply because then CMake will activate the its own defines for debug and and compile the enclave appropriately. And similarly, the SGX SDK will slightly change behavior. Okay, so one thing that I want to add here is that now we don't have anymore the PDO enclave config XML file. Now this really becomes a configuration file, which is generated at build time, and the generation simply involves to the set of these disable debug flag accordingly, so that the enclave can be compiled properly. It's a technical detail, and this is all automated in the build process. Right. Okay, so concluding this part, when you want to build enclave, you need at least two environment variables: SGX debug mode and PDO debug build. That's it. Next, the PDO-TP was enhanced with additional checks over the attestation verification report.
I have a quick question. So when I just do run tests on my machine, right, or when I run a contracts example, right, take it. I'm not talking about the Jupyter-based example, or even there, right? So what is the default? I know it. We are usually doing it in sim mode, right? So like, can we ensure that by default it's not going to keep showing all the unnecessary logs coming from the enclave because it's debug mode for the SGX? I mean, it's not a PDO debug because I'm trying to show how a contract works, and the participants might not want to see anything other than a warn or info.
Well, in that case, I think you have to set.
Or at least can you tell me what do I set before I run tests or some of these contract tests so that I don't get overwhelmed with logs?
But you run in sim mode or in
Sim mode. It's always going to be sim mode, right? All my demos are in sim mode. We're never running in like hardware mode for any of the demos.
so if it's sim mode, you should try. Well, SGX the mode equals sim. PDO debug build equal 1, and then you should try setting this
Video log level is equal to info.
PDO log level as the environment variable
Okay.
to info or critical or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that helps.
But I suggest that you try it and that you report back.
Yeah.
Because thinking about that, so in the Docker make file, the PDO debug build is forwarded to the Docker build because it's needed here so that the so that the container take that. But the PDO log, the bug level is not forwarded.
I see.
So it may still take the whatever default it has.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
That's right. Okay. So PDOTP. So what's the problem here? And Marcus is on, right?
Yes. I'm here.
Yeah, you're there. Okay. So I think we had talked about this with Michael as well. Actually, Michael brought this up, saying that the SGX enclave first can be run in 1 or 2 modes, 32-bit or 64 bits. And it's important that you check that because otherwise there may be a mix and match and you never know if you're exposing a vulnerability. So that's one flag. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, verify 64-bit enclave. And the other one is the SGX debug flag itself. So understanding whether the enclave was running debug mode or not. And that's important because if it's running debug mode, the SGX debug capabilities are turned on, so you can read and write the enclave memory, essentially. So yeah, the transaction processor now will take care of checking these 2 flags. Now, the 64-bit flag is checked and must be set by default. So we only accept 64-bit enclaves. The debug flag is checked depending on the policy. So what I did was to add.
Bruno.
Yes.
So is this 64-32-bit flag actually relevant? I mean, I understand that the SDK maybe provides this, but in reality, is someone using 32 bits on some machine? Or
Well, the relevance here is that if you execute a 32-bit on a 64-bit, maybe it crashes, but it's unintended behavior. And as Michael always was suggesting, you cannot claim that you're not exposing a vulnerability because of that. Maybe you can do some mix and match of I don't know, assembly code or something. That I don't know.
I see.
It's difficult to to measure that. So it's better to say, okay, if it's 64-bit, it should be checked. That's it.
Yeah. But so again, I understood that you basically, I mean, from the perspective of the PDO project, you basically only allow 64-bit code. And if someone plays with this flag for whatever reason, and somehow the attestation basically contains the 32-bit, you say, no, not supported, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, in theory, nobody should. Well, it's expected to run in 32-bit. If somebody really wants, well, go inside the TPE, change that, and you're okay, I guess. Okay, and then the SGX debug flag is also checked, but this now requires to be specified in the policy. So I added the essentially here the SGX debug flag together with the MR enclave base name NIS public key that we had. And this SGX debug flag also depends now on PDO debug build as well. Now, this is also visible in the register with Ledger. There's a ledger where, yes, this is added to the policy that we register depending on PDO debug build. So now we have a 4-field policy here. Okay. All right. Next, SGX debug flag in P service. So the same. Nothing new here. The same things are ported to the P service. The same sort of checks. But here there is something interesting actually, which is and it's the following. So the way the build works here, I think we do something similar in FPC, if I remember correctly, is that we build a service or the enclave, and once the enclave is built, you have this metadata file, and with the metadata file, you have access to the MR enclave of the enclave. After that, we copy this MR enclave to the P service, the provisioning service, so that the P service can check the MR enclave for provisioning the correct enclaves. Now, in the metadata file, the SGX debug flag is available within the enclave attributes. Okay. And so you can use that. You could use that to understand whether the enclave is supposed to be supposed to be run in debug mode or not. The thing is that it's always 0 in that case, or 1. Well, either 0 or 1. It's always the same value. So it's not enough to take that SGX debug flag because that's the flag used after the enclave is built. at runtime, it can be changed by the program that runs the enclave. We have to look at the attribute mask instead. So the attribute mask determines whether the SGX debug flag will be enforced or not. The one that was specified at build time. So if the debug flag here is always 0, but it's not enforced in the mask, then the program can set it to 0 or 1 arbitrarily. But if it is to 0, set to 0, and the mask, the one in the bit mask is 1, then the enclave must be run with the debug flag equals 0. So yeah, so from the metadata file, the flags and the mask are both exported to the P service through this generate MR enclave header that we will then use in the build of the P service. And the P service will, here will do its checks. And the check is very simple. In the case of the debug flag, the P service first looks at the mask. If the debug flag must be enforced, it will then check the debug flag. Otherwise it's irrelevant. So whatever the debug flag it has, it will be fine. So this is the check in the P service. That's it. You have any questions? I mean, it's simple. It's just a little bit intricate, but
I have a slightly orthogonal question. I don't know, not specifically related to this commit or maybe not even this PR. So, is any of the changes related? Is specific to the fact that we are using EPID and not decap? In other words, if we change to decap, does anything change?
no, in this case, no. It should not change anything. This should be generic and just SGX.
Except for the attestation verification inside the TP.
No, with decap, I don't think even the format should change because the header should be the same, actually. So no, this should be generic SGX, whatever the attestation type you're using.
Correct, but when inside the TP, when we eventually move to decap, we need a new function to check whatever the decap attestation verification support schema is, right? It might not be same as what EAS provides. Well, that's a completely different problem.
Well, yeah, you need to adapt something because in the case of decap, you will have, well, if you use the Intel Trust Authority, you will have the JSON Web Token at least that you have to verify, but and the signature as well. But you still have the quote body in that case, so I think you can reuse many of these checks, or these particular checks may not need to change.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Up to a different format, but yeah. Okay. Okay, that's right. So this one is simply, okay, this ports the same build options to the P service in the sense that with this commit, even the P service is compiled based on SGX, the SGX mod environment variable and the PDO debug build environment variable. um,
I can
because
ask
we have an
one
enclave
more.
there.
Can I ask one more question, Bruno?
Mhm.
Might be again ortho. So PDO's security model does not really depend on the fact that the P services run within enclaves, right? Because because the eventual seed is an XOR of the seeds from
That-
the various P service. Right?
That is correct. This is just for well, to keep consistency between the build modes of the E service and the P service, because we use an enclave for the P service right now. But you're correct.
Okay, thanks.
In fact, I didn't do this at the beginning, but Michael and Mick obviously suggested that this was
Yeah, this addition
Good.
should have been just a drop enclaves or P service entirely. You're not solving any problem by doing that. That's my point.
Well, it's an additional layer of defense in depth.
For a problem that is unstated.
What? Sorry.
For an unknown spec. That's my point, right? Because whatever defense that you are getting, it's not captured in the security model of video at all. So yes, I understand that you're saying that it now
Yeah.
is harder to attack the P service, but it is not quantified and it's not I don't even know if it's quantifiable, and even if it's quantified, it is not at least captured in the threat model of PDO. So
Yeah,
why
it
are we
doesn't
even
address
solving
a
that?
security requirement in a threat
Yeah.
model. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So the P service is also built in the same way. And what about this? Oops, give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, and that's it. These are other consistency checks, but nothing particularly relevant. Yeah, maybe I would say that this is what I was telling you about, that PDO debug build must be one in sim mode. So I had to add it even in the CI in this case. And so in the CI for commits that contain this debug tag, we run in PDO debug with PDO debug build on and log level debug. But if they don't contain that tag, then PDO debug build is still 1, but the log level is warning. So it should reduce the amount of things that are printed out, but still that has to be double checked with the containers, because I'm not sure that this log level is percolates in the build in the containers. And this is it for my PR.
This is extremely helpful, Bruno. At least this makes my life very easy when I review this. Yeah, thank you so much. Any
You're
questions
welcome.
from
You're
anyone?
welcome. I appreciate that. I make
Yes.
life easier for people.
Oh yes. Yeah. Okay. But the thing is, so we still don't have a good way to automate SGX test, right? It's all manually tested on local hardware, right? We don't have an automated framework to test. So like, how do you do
Well,
it for FPC? That's what I would like to know for like hardware mode.
It's the same.
Testing.
Manual.
Manual
Do the same
testing.
thing.
No, I
Well-
think the only way how to approach this basically come up with a little bit of SGX hardware where you then install this GitHub Runner software and then register this as your SGX hardware runner, and then make sure that the integration test you're running basically can be run with the flag hardware mode on, and then you specify this particular runner, and then you can run it in hardware mode. I think that's the only way how we could do that. I mean, for FPC and PDO.
So in that hardware runner, can you spin up an Azure VM on demand, or does it have to be a VM that's already on with a specific IP and all of that?
That's a good question. I believe you need a VM or a bare metal machine somewhere. I mean, it doesn't matter then where it's hosted, but it needs to be there. So the runner, the external runner, cannot be something which is spawned ad hoc.
Or unless the IP is an application gateway IP, and the application gateway in Azure policy can spin up a resource on demand when a request comes, right? So the fact that the JIT does not even need to worry about how the VM is brought into existence.
Right, but I mean, I think the worst calculation would be, okay, you need one VM with SGX full time. What's the cost of it? And then figuring out who's going to pay for it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true, yeah.
And then once you're happy with this, then I guess you can optimize and spend cycles in order to basically reduce the cost by, I mean, shutting it down when you don't need it.
No, that's what. So if you have an application gateway connected to a VM, the application gateway can automatically turn it on and turn it off. Usually you only pay when it's turned on, right?
I mean, what would be nice, I believe, I mean, to find, I mean, some reasonable middle ground here is that, I mean, if you have resources where you can say, okay, I'm happy to pay for SGX hardware on Microsoft for 1 hour per week, or something like that, then you can basically schedule, I mean, register this in a certain way, and then have one weekly build in hardware mode triggered automatically. That would be fine. So then you don't need this, in quotes, expensive resource for every PR, for instance.
That's true, but even that would need some daemon making that would stand up that VM for that 1 hour in a week, right? So some automation has to be performed at somewhere.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, okay. Yeah, you're saying that it's doable, it's just the will of the people.
I mean, you can also use your laptop as a runner. I believe you just have to install the runner package, install the right token, and register it. And you could do this with any lab machine you have there. Well, I guess some internal policies needs to be figured out if this is something you could do.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I was looking into that, and in order to be compliant with our regulations, that's not easy.
I'm a little bit surprised that given that both JIT and the Azure VMs are both owned essentially by Microsoft, they haven't found a seamless way to spin up a confidential compute VM as the JIT runner. Yeah, so there must be good reasons why. Maybe there's not enough demand. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think I have anything else for today. So either of you?
No.
Yeah,
Just to say, I think for Grameen they have this sort of runner somewhere, I think.
Oh, yeah? Maybe you then just have to speak to Mono?
Not really, because I'm not sure that they have those at Intel. Maybe in
I mean,
some
it's-
partnership with some university, I think.
Well,
Oh,
I don't
see.
know. So the question is, I mean, how expensive is the cheapest SGX enabled VM on a monthly basis on Azure?
Yeah, it's probably over a couple of $100 for what we need. That's my first quick take based on what I've used.
Yeah. So then
not-
I
yeah.
guess it's more about okay, a management question. How to get approval for a couple of hundreds of dollars every. Or I don't know. I mean, couldn't we? Well, the other thing would be to. I mean, since this is an open source project, also to approach Microsoft and say, "Hey, look, we have this project which we would like to see that it runs on your platform. What are our options in order to get a free VM for testing?" Maybe this is something where the Hyperledger organization can also help.
I think I've asked at the time, but it didn't have any, any runners or resources on Azure beyond the free ones in GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are any further comments, I'm okay to end now.
Okay, cool. Thanks
Thank
for
you
hosting
so
this.
much, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.